How's the stash?
Glorious.
That's what I'm talking about.
Live from downtown Nashville, Tennessee.
This is StacheCast.
Let's go!
Welcome to our ridiculous sports show.
Hello, everyone.
It's a frat party at a golf course.
That was one hell of an intro. I enjoyed every minute of that.
Come on, do you even want to win?
He's like running into a 12-story building.
You want to talk about a whooping on national television?
I'm not playing for the next 2 hours. Bring me some chicken.
StacheCast, baby.
Hello, college basketball fans. The time has come. It is March, baby, and we are ready for all the madness. This is StacheCast, presented by Nashville Stash, coming to you from downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Our March Madness special starts now. Let's go. This special edition of StacheCast is brought to you by our friends at Wire Wizard Welding Products, family-owned, American-made, innovative products, and just really awesome folks to work with. Wire Wizard, if it touches the wire has a product for it. Check them out at wire-wizard.com and tell them that StacheCast sent you. Guys, I'm stoked about today's show, but before we dig in, I want to remind you about a couple of things. If you're hearing and seeing this in time, go fill out a free bracket. Follow us at Nashville Stash on Instagram. Click the link in the bio. Go directly to the StacheCast public bracket. Create yours now for a chance to win an exclusive merch package from StacheCast. Hats, shirts, all brand new stuff. It's pretty good. I'm pretty excited about it. But go check that out now. Again, at Nashville Stash. Follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, at Nashville Stash. I'm joined by my new bride, Kay Love.
Woo.
How's she looking, boys? Any different?
Married.
Very married. There you go.
About him too.
Boom. There it is.
Definitely looks different.
Definitely married.
Hands a little heavier.
A little heavier, but still, but a lot
Lean to
happier.
the left.
Yeah.
A little bit dragging, but we're happy. Joe Hudson, my man Tweeter, is here with us. Alex, the professor, is here to break down all the regions. And from Phoenix, as always, Jared Jones is here. And welcome back from Nashville, Tennessee, our degenerate gambling extraordinaire. Scott Ward is with us, everybody. Give Scott a hand.
Here we go,
back.
Scott. Thanks,
Y'all
guys.
missed a hell of a party on Saturday, boys. JJ, I know you had to be at home, you had to take care of your stuff, but man, you missed a hell of a party. I'm telling you.
The FaceTimes alone said it was a rager. I mean,
Yeah.
It was full on blacked out rager, and I was like, "What time is it there?" He's like, "It's like 8:30," and I was like, "Y'all got another hour and a half at least."
Yep. Let's
Hang
go.
with him.
Let's go. We definitely FaceTime JJ, passed him around the reception multiple times. He I'm sure it was a lot like the Blair Witch Project, kind of, all over the place. Probably hard to tell what the hell was actually going on.
And shout out to my cousin Connor Love, who with his lovely mustache and his mullet haircut that got cut off at the bar.
Attaboy.
Nice.
That's A+ effort. I mean, he said, I can't be held responsible for anything that happens when there's an open bar involved. So
That's true.
at the end of the day, you got to respect the fact that he went all in, he went hard in the paint, but you got to respect all the Love gentlemen, because not only did they show up and show out, but they all showed up with a glorious mustache to represent the crew. So shout out to Wesley, shout out to Dale and Connor, all
That's
my
right.
guys out there that came supported. We had a blast. Amazing day, went off without a hitch.
Got hitched,
Here
actually.
we are. Do what?
It literally went off with a hitch. You got hitched.
Well, yeah, when with a hitch, it ended with
Ironically.
a hitch. Yeah, ironically.
Even
But
our officiant, he had a mustache on. He whipped it out and did a
Yeah.
sponsorship for StacheCast during the actual ceremony. So
Nice.
it was pretty awesome. So we're
Yeah.
excited for that.
Congrats to you guys.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
man. We really appreciate it. It was a beautiful day. The weather cooperated. A little bit colder than we wanted, but you'll have that on them big jobs. At the end of the day, the reception was off the hook. We had people dancing, we had people drinking, we had people celebrating. It was all happy all the time, no drama. Beautiful time. The day before, it was great to have all the guys out. We played golf. We had a good time. Rehearsal dinner was beautiful. JJ, obviously you were missed. But you were well celebrated, my friend. No, definitely weren't forgotten. So
We had Scott there. We had Alex there. So
yeah, we had the whole crew there, except for
Good time.
Tweeter and JJ who couldn't have made it. Actually, inadvertently,
60% of the crew.
Joe could have made it. And, it's
Could have
like,
made it,
at
actually.
the
Yep.
end of the day, I thought I could, and then I couldn't. But that's the way that goes. But 11 a.m. Central tomorrow. It's about to go down. Brackets are done, baby. Tweeter, how you feeling about yours so far, man?
I don't know why it's tormenting. It's just tormenting. You know what I mean? It's like you're sitting there and you're like, I don't even care about these teams that are playing. Oh, I didn't even know that team was playing.
Yeah.
But I feel like they got a chance, you know, and you're sitting there and you trick yourself into thinking, well, I have to pick some sort of upset. I mean, I have to. Like, you can't just go with a higher ranked team. And this is the best part about it, man. This is why it's my favorite sporting event that happens every year. The World Cup is my favorite sporting event in the world. But annually, what beats March Madness, man? This is such a great time.
Very few things get me as jacked up as the March Madness, because it's a 3-week, it's a process. It's an onslaught of brain overload on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you kind of regroup and it's like, bam, Sweet 16, Elite 8, bam. And it happens fast. And these guys are playing for their lives every night. You watch even the first 4 games, they're watching these games and they're living and dying by every shot. They're so, you can just tell how nervous they are. Right. And, it's nice for them to at least get a chance to get that out of their system. If you know what I mean? Like, where they can at least, get the nerves out a little bit and not feel like they are, feeling it for the first time. You know what I mean? See it playing in front of the people under the lights. Those stadiums are a little bit different, I bet, than some of those smaller teams play it on a regular basis, because they play in stadiums that or arenas or gyms that feel more like a high school gym.
Yep.
As far as like the way the people are. And then you go play in this gym where there's, the rim's right there, and then there's not people for 75 feet behind it. You know what I mean? It's like that depth perception thing has got to be difficult to get used to, I would think. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's a lot of too what the announcers say. Like, when you watch all the coverage on it, and a lot of them who have been there and have played, they all have said it's just something different about tournament time. Like in March Madness, it's a different air. There's just so much that's unique and just completely different about the whole March Madness.
But I fucking hate my bracket. I hate every one of them. Every one I put together, it pisses me off. I'm like, it's like every single game, like Joe said, either way could go. It could go either way. Now I've got the professor throwing brackets papers at me like he's done 72 brackets. So he's definitely picked whatever upset we might think of in one of those brackets. So he's covered. He spent $82,000 on brackets this year, just to guarantee he's going to get free tacos down the street from his buddies.
Jelly of the Month Club.
Jelly of the gift that keeps on giving.
Clark.
There you are.
Good reference.
But I'm telling you, man, I hate it. So what I want to do, I want to go through every bracket. I don't necessarily want to pick every game, but I want to talk about, let's look at the spreads. Let's look at what Vegas thinks about some of these games. Let's go down through their region by region and look at who we think might bust some brackets, who might not necessarily upset anyone, but might cover some spreads that look a little bit high, because some of them are a little bit higher than they should be. And some of them look like they might be a little bit closer than normal, or that you would think they would be, which gives me a reason to think maybe there's something up. But let's just start right out of the gate. Alabama, no doubt they're going to beat the A&M Corpus Christi that played last night. That team does not look like a Division I team, but there they are. Their one of their third best player got hurt in the championship game. They looked like the moment was a little bit big for them. When they go play Alabama, I think that's going to be a rough day. Maryland, West Virginia, it's interesting because I know a little bit about both, but I don't know enough to really pick that. So when you sit back and you think about an 8-9 matchup, JJ, is it a pick 'em pretty much across the board for you?
So I wanted to talk about the 8-9s, because for me, I flipped my pick 15 times in 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, Maryland had a pretty good Big Ten record. West Virginia's no slouch. You could just coin flip across the board 8-9s for me. I ended up, for the most part, picking Big Ten. I think I went SEC with Arkansas, because that's like the biggest wild card team in the SEC. But for the most part, they might as well. It's neither of them are an upset. Coin flip and move on.
Right. But all right. So the spread's 1.5. It's hard for me to pick one or the other. I made a statement earlier that I'll elaborate on now. I've almost made, as a social experiment, made a decision that I'm taking the points in every single game, regardless of the matchup, regardless of who's playing, just from a pure sports betting perspective. If I take the points in every single game, I feel like I'm going to win money. I feel like the odds are going to be in my favor if I'm taking better odd bets. I'm going to lose more because the favorites are going to win in a lot of games. And I mean, I might curb it a little bit where I'm not taking a 16 against a 1 every time. I'm taking the points just because the chances of them covering in the tournament are a lot more likely than they would be necessarily in a regular season, like exhibition game. What do you think?
When you said that though, so like West Virginia, it's Maryland. West Virginia is what, -2.5?
Maryland,
-2. So if you take the points, you're saying West Virginia is -2. If you take the points, what is that? I'm dead. Like, what does that mean?
Just to back it up a little bit, if West Virginia is favored 2.5 points, then that means that they're expected to win the game by more than 2.5 points. You can't have a half a point in basketball, so they have to win by 3. The reason they do a half points to eliminate the push, which would be equivalent to a tie, which means your bet doesn't count and you get your money back. So the 2.5 points gives you a win or a loss guaranteed, meaning that West Virginia has to win by 3 in order for your bet to win if you take West Virginia. Now, if you take Maryland, on the other hand, then they're +2.5, which means they can still lose the game by 2 points and you would still win your bet. So it's not taking the winner or the loser. You're taking the game on how do I think that they will win by this amount of points. And if not, if I say I'm going to take the points, that means I'm going to take the plus points and take the underdog in that situation. The alternative would be I'm going to lay the points, which would mean I'm going to take the favorite and I'm going to lay the minus however many points they are they're favored to win by. Does that make any more sense?
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Okay, great. So
Nick, as great minds think alike. Actually, this morning or today at lunch, I put a buck on every team that's the underdog with points. I was like, I'm just going to see if I lose money because it's a buck. If I win money, so you said a social
right. And I mean, I didn't go
thing.
ham on this thing. I just went a little bit of money just as a social experience, just to see, right?
Bam.
Yeah.
Just one of those things where last year, like Alex sent me a thing a couple weeks ago about if you'd have taken the underdogs last year or the year before, how it would have played out for you, and ultimately you would have won. And I looked back at multiple years, and it looked like that year over year, if you were to take the points consistently, just like without even looking at it, I'm just taking the points, you would win money overall, just because the odds of them covering that spread are usually better than the covering of the favorite covering that spread. But moving on down the list, San Diego State and Charleston. I don't know much about Charleston other than they can flat out shoot it and they score points. They only lost 3 games all year, and I don't care what you're doing. If you only lose 3 games in Division I college basketball, that's doing something. A lot of announcers are taking them as a kind of a hot take to pull some upsets. San Diego State's been notorious for laying a fat egg in the tournament. So those two things kind of add up. Alex, what do you think?
I got a couple stats for you per usual. So San Diego State, not only were they the regular season champ, they were also their conference tournament championship. They also won their conference tournament championship. Since 2014, the 4 teams that have traveled the longest, and if you look, San Diego State won, right? They had a great record throughout the year, 27-6, regular season champs, conference tournament champs. And where are they playing? Orlando, the farthest away possible, one of the earliest games as well. So like 39% against the spread if you're one of those 4 teams that travel since 2014. So my recommendation, I think San Diego State wins this game, but I do think Charleston covers here. I think you should still put your money on Charleston plus 5.5, but in your bracket, you should go San Diego State.
I love it. I love this. I love being the clarification on the difference, because I agree. I think that that's a closer game. I think they could beat them if San Diego State gets, that's a long way to travel. I mean, it could happen. It's all of those real life aspects that we forget about that play a factor in the games. That it's kind of like Michael Jordan said he would rather play away than at home, just because there was fewer people pining at him to get tickets and to get access and to all these things when he was away. When he's away, he almost had some solitude. He could just go play. At home, he had to deal with everybody and all the stuff, and the noise was a lot louder at home. It's those are the life things that I'm talking about that have a factor in how the game turns out. Because I mean, if you're distracted at home, if your wife is upset with you, or you guys are have been having an argument, or your baby hasn't let you sleep in a week, all of those things play a factor in how you perform at your job. If you play a professional sport, or a college sport even, and I mean, you're less equipped as a 19-year-old kid to deal with a lot of the things that probably are put on them right now. All of those things play a factor in it. But at the end of the day, it's all about the moment. It's all about the kids that show up for the moment, and you can tell really quick. You could if you watch the first 30 seconds of the Fairleigh Dickinson Southern Texas game or whatever was just on, the first 30 seconds, you could tell that FDU was all over their ass. And it was as soon as the first 30 seconds, I went and took them again. I went and doubled down on them. I was like, they just looked like they were not too big for the moment, or the moment wasn't too big for them. And they showed up and they just took it to them right off the gate. Southern Texas looked a little bit shook. You know, I mean, it looked like they were running uphill from the beginning, and all those things play a factor. 12
another one.
What about 12s and 5s? Does that have something that you're about to say?
This is very similar, but I'm talking about the first games of the day, the games that are before noon or around, before noon. I guess that would be, I don't know which coast we're talking about here, but before noon on the West Coast, if the first half under is under 70, that hits 66% of the time, because those are college kids waking up ass early to play in a game. First couple games of the tournament, it's like, oh God, I just had my orange juice and my 3 cups of coffee. This is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, or
go under.
I haven't pooped
under
yet.
Under in that first half for that Maryland West Virginia game. Definitely that Furman Virginia game. All right, so
like
on those early games.
To your point, the first 5 games tomorrow is West Virginia, Maryland, where West Virginia is favored 2.5. That's at 11:15 Central Time, 11:40 Central. Furman and Virginia. That's Virginia's favored 6.5. Followed by Utah State and Missouri at 12:40. Howard and Kansas, the 16 and the 1 at 1 o'clock.
Past noon. Just those first 2 games.
Okay, 3. So the first 2 games then would be West Virginia, Maryland, Furman, West Virginia. I have a feeling about Furman.
Same.
I have a feeling, and I think it's more about Virginia's ability to just defend themselves out offense and lose a game than it is about Furman. I watched them play their championship game against Chattanooga, where last year they lost at the buzzer beater. Well, I watched this year's game. They look like they're a decent mid-major team, but the thing that's different about them is that they can shoot it. And if they get hot from the outside in the tournament, everybody knows how that goes. The guards get hot and they start hitting threes, and all hell starts breaking loose.
I took Furman here. I think they're well-rested veteran presidents. They're averaging 82 points a game. So you put in Virginia's defense, obviously going to go down. If they hit from the 3, it's done, because they've got the best shooting percentage inside the arc. So best shooting 2-pointers in the nation. They mix in a couple threes. I think there's a real upset chance there.
And the best way to beat a ranked team, especially when you are a high seed, so to speak, like Furman is 13 playing a 4, which is Virginia, is to slow down the game. And that's exactly how Virginia plays, as slow as humanly possible.
They also lost Vanderplas in the ACC tournament as well. So they're going to be without a starting forward for the game. And if they're not shooting well from the outside, I just don't see how they can keep up.
Agreed. Take Furman. That spread has gone from 8. Now it's at 5.5.
Okay.
Everybody's hopping on the Furman train. Damn.
Oh yeah. I got it at 6.
And that's 6.5 at the time I put this together. So you can see that's been in a matter of a few hours. It's already changed another 1.5. Utah State and Missouri. Well, I watched Mizzou play. I watched them beat our Tennessee Vols in the tournament. I watched them get absolutely mollywopped the next night. But Missouri is nobody special. I'm not sure that they can really play. I feel like they got a little bit of I think they got a little SEC boost because they played in a tough conference. I don't think they're that good. Me being honest.
They've had a few
basically
wins.
They got a hot.
Yeah, they got hot wins.
So they try to create chaos with their defense a lot and create turnovers. If you can't do that, they really aren't going to be able to try and keep up.
Yeah.
The big thing with that one is, though, Kobe Brown handles the ball for him. It's kind of hard to match up with a 6'8" point guard. So That's the wild card in the game. Otherwise, I think Utah State should take it, but they're going to have
their favorite
a lot
point and a
to
half.
do with.
So Vegas thinks they ought to win the game.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those things. It's a matchup thing in the tournament. On a one-off, can somebody like Kobe Brown or somebody else step up and be a problem, right? And be a matchup problem. It's one of those things where if all of a sudden one of their big guys gets possessed and he has a really good bowl of Wheaties and he just absolutely destroys the offensive glass all game out of nowhere, and they win a game that they probably shouldn't. You know what I mean? It's like we're at that time of the year where somebody that you have never probably heard of could absolutely step up like a man possessed and take over a game. And you're just like, who the heck is that guy? He's a bad man. He is a bad man. Where's he been all year? Just busted my bracket. I want to punch him in the mouth, but damn, what a game.
Missouri's got the 10th ranked offense and offensive efficiency. Utah State has the 13th. The problem with Missouri is they have the 179th ranked defense, and Utah State has the
anything better. It's better.
Yeah, 133. So, like, you know what you do in that game?
Over.
You take the damn over. Yeah,
not a lot of defense.
60 points each in the first half. Like ridiculous amount. Take the over in that game immediately.
Yeah, how do you even rank that? Your defense is 179. Like just trying to picture that. I'll be honest though, I did take Mizzou and I did take Virginia. So just throwing it out there, just see what happens. At least
I took Virginia.
bracket.
Virginia's got great coaching.
Did you say Virginia's got girth? Because
I think it was. I hate.
Look, I grew up near UVA and I hate the school. I'm not gonna lie.
That girthy school down
This
there.
is a real. It's got a lot of girth, man.
That's funny. Hey, all right. So all right. So Alex, my question to you about the next two games are both 1/16 matchups. One's a 24.5 point spread is when I last looked. One's a 21.5 point spread. When you start to look at those games at a 20-point spread, I'm just sticking to my previous statement and taking those points because the likelihood of them beating their ass by 30 is just as likely, and as they probably should. But just on a whim, you get that one. That obscure half where they like go into halftime with a 1 point lead or something. And you're just like, they end up winning by 10, but it was never really in question, but they still cover. What do you think?
I mean, if we're looking at the rest of the number one seeds,
I was just talking about Bama and Kansas here, cause they play first on tomorrow.
Kansas should be fine. And so should Bama. If any, it's going to be a layup drill for them both. The other two number one seeds, different story, but those two guys, I don't see them having any problems. Alabama, the number one offense in the country.
Right.
It's a lot of points.
Right.
It's a lot of points, though. It is a lot of points.
Kansas had a few games, especially at home against Texas, and when they were at Texas, where they struggled out of the gate shooting. It was brutal. So the only hope there at 21.5 is like, it's still out of hand, but you're hoping Howard's like 12 to 15 points behind the whole way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next game is Arizona and Princeton, and it's only a 14-point spread. I feel like that's weird, right?
I totally agree.
There's a little bit of faith.
It's one of those that
Princeton.
smells a little funny, you know?
Mm-hmm.
How many games in the first round actually do have this big of a outcome at the end? I feel like I don't recall a lot of games
It's very few.
Where it's like, damn, like, okay, that was just as expected. The 20+ point win. It's like,
I feel like it's two. I feel like it's 1 out of the 4 usually. 1 out of the 4 is like, okay, that was a beat down like you're supposed to. Maybe 2. But there's at least 1 or 2 of those 16 1s, 15 2s, what have you, 14 3s even, that you're like, whoa, now like it's a little hot in here, you know? Woohoo.
I feel like we've got more of those on Friday than we do Thursday, but I think there's some potentials on a couple of those that we'll get to.
All right, so the games that keep you up at night, right? The Illinois Arkansas matchup, the Auburn Iowa matchup. Like Auburn is, for all intents and purposes, not an impressive basketball team, but they find ways to win. Bruce Pearl's a magician. Iowa can get hot and beat you, just like they've beaten a lot of guys this year. They beat Iowa, or they beat Purdue, they beat Indiana, they beat a lot of teams just because those boys can get hot. I mean, they scored 15 points in 45 seconds or something the other night, like at some point during the season. So you get this 8-9 matchup that's a 1.5 point spread, basically a pick 'em. I'm basically just flipping a coin and because there's no way to decide that.
Well, I think you can look at a couple of things.
Good.
That game is in Birmingham.
Okay.
So there's going to be some Auburn fans there, but you also might see some Alabama fans there rooting for Iowa. And although Iowa's been good this year, most of their good wins have been at home.
Agreed.
They haven't done much on the road at all. And this will be essentially a road matchup. That's why I think it swings to Auburn. Also, Bruce Pearl has a history with Iowa with his NCAA sanctions. He's going to want to win this game a lot.
A lot.
Little bit of extra juju for that game, huh?
I agree.
All right. That's interesting. That gives some perspective. I like that. I mean, that definitely
Iowa has the
me.
third best offense in the country, and then like the 179th ranked defense. So I think Bruce Pearl makes a difference here. But when, like you said, it's a coin toss game.
Right. But
when in doubt,
Birmingham,
you can go with the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Again, another game that we talked about that a lot of people have been projecting as a upset special is the Oral Roberts Duke game.
Wait, are we bypassing Illinois, Arkansas here? Arkansas?
I just talked about them two together. If you'd like to talk about Illinois, if you got a nugget on Arkansas or Illinois, then let's go. Because I'm just as much of in a pretzel about that one as I was about the freaking Auburn Iowa game.
No. Use the same coin you're using for the other one. JJ may have something though.
Well, Scott, if you want to go off coaches here, Brad Underwood for Illinois, for those guys, you guys have never watched an Illinois game, he's a fucking buffoon. I can't stand to watch him. He's got the red ass all the time. Bet against that guy anytime you can. I went Arkansas here because I like Coach Musselman, like we're doing with Arkansas, because nobody's cared about Arkansas basketball for the last 40 years. And he's
Corliss Williamson, man. Corliss Williamson.
Well, they've been a problem. They've just that gnat in SEC this year. They weren't quite good enough to get over the hump, but they were always in somebody's ass all year. They were always putting somebody to the wire. So you like that. You like, again, when in doubt, take the coach. We like Musselman. So StacheCast is taking Arkansas and Auburn in those matchups. Let's go.
Yeah.
So on to the 12-5, Oral Roberts and Duke. I don't know anything about Oral Roberts, but I know that Duke has been playing a lot better basketball over the last 2 or 3 weeks than they were all year. Alex, what say you as the resident Duke fan and the professor?
I mean, if you look at the teams that they've beaten as of late in the ACC had a down year.
Yeah.
And yes, they got a good win against Miami. But that's really it. So as a Duke fan, I'm taking Oral Roberts here.
You're taking them,
my family.
You're taking the upset.
I'm taking Oral Bob in this one.
All right. Well, and
too scared of this matchup.
Is that just a gut feeling, or is it because that spread is so fucking close that it makes you go, there's something going on here? Duke
is good, but they've got a ton of freshmen. This is going to be their first tournament game. It's different than the ACC. They're playing an Oral Bob team that is full of seniors. And it's going to be, they have one senior handling the ball. Oral Roberts has a huge guy down on the post. He's a senior. Everyone else is a senior.
Most of those guys, though, are transfers from other universities.
Yeah, and that's why they're good. Yeah.
Honestly, though, the way Duke is playing, this game scares me more than any of the other ones, I think, in the bracket.
I agree. I take Oral Bob plus those points. I might even put a little bit of money on that money line to go against them just because the odds are so good. Right. And most of the time when you win the ACC tournament, you then shit yourself in the tournament, the NCAA tournament, losing like the first round or the second round. It's happened a lot.
All right. Well, that's unfortunate for them.
It is. But also if Duke wins that game, I mean, it's not going to be the toughest matchup moving forward for them to. No, if they get through the big Oral Bob
conundrum.
if they get through that big matchup, then they have a relatively, not I wouldn't say easy road, but they have a road that's a little bit more, probably
They have Tennessee.
For Tennessee,
than Tennessee for sure.
If Tennessee
But-
gets out of their first round, but yeah.
Yeah,
For real.
we'll get. Yeah, we'll
You're
get.
not wrong.
We'll get. They play a Louisiana Raging Cajun team that kind of scrappy, kind of can get hot from outside. It looked like from the game that I saw. I just watched their conference tournament game. But the reality
Got a
is that
McDonald's
here's the
All-American.
deal. I could give a shit. The fact is that I owned the Louisiana Raging Cajuns when I was in college. Never lost to them. They're a bunch of nobodies. They're a bunch of they're just, they kept coming, they kept losing. I feel like that's what's going to happen when they come play UT. Now, UT's definitely going to get their ass mollywopped in the second round. They're going home. They're not winning 2 games, but I think they win the first one.
I agree.
I
just
even
my
might
two
put
cents.
money. I still think Tennessee matches up well against them. Like Scott, like you said, Louisiana's got a McDonald's All-American who's playing his lights out. I might take Louisiana plus the points. I'm not parlaying that on anything.
No, the
but
points for sure. From a pure betting perspective, plus 11.5 all day, every day, and twice on Sunday with the Vols right now because they don't know who they are without Zig.
Yeah, I would agree.
But as far as winning the game outright, I don't think the Vols go down against them.
But you don't think that if Oral Roberts beats Duke, that Tennessee would be able to beat Oral Roberts next round?
I don't think it's a good matchup for them either.
No.
But
Oral, so you're basically saying you think Oral
Yes.
Roberts has that solid
I could
shot
see-
to be-
I could see
Oral
Oral
Roberts
Roberts
is
making
Sweet
it to the
16 for
Elite
sure.
Eight. I could see them going as
Yeah.
far as the Elite Eight potentially.
That's a lot for Oral Bob.
It is a lot for Oral Bob.
And
Big
they
day for old Bobby, but
they've
hey,
been in, I guess in the last few years, you hear about them constantly tournament time. You always hear they're always
The only
Oral-
time you hear about them. Yeah.
That is the only time, right? It's
Them
like
and
they're
Belmont.
always flirting with the perimeter of of the tournament. So, it'll be interesting to see. But
Yep. Flirting
Yeah,
lyrics
so-
to Oral. Bob.
We'll see if they get ahead.
Oral Bob.
Oh, there it is, Joe. Let's go. The pun segment.
All right, here we
Yes.
go. Does anybody know anything about Boise State? I don't know anything about them.
Pretty sure it's
Yeah.
in Idaho, right?
I know other than its location, you know anything about their basketball team? Good, bad, ugly? Can shoot,
Yeah.
can't shoot, big, tall, little?
I took
Nothing?
them too.
I would
Nothing.
if I'm betting anything on this game, it is definitely the under. Northwestern's got a better coach. I think Northwestern plays in a tougher conference. Boise State doesn't really play anyone, and when they did, they got their ass kicked. So even though the spread is only 2, I like Northwestern to move on here against the blue turf team. But that's an under game for me. That game is maybe they get 55 each.
Yeah, because it's a pick 'em spread, 1.5.
Northwestern, obviously,
Yeah.
finished second in the Big Ten. They're no joke in terms of the team. I don't think they're getting much respect because it's Northwestern basketball. And Boise State's been on that short list of non-power 5 schools to watch. So I think pick them. I go Big Ten. They've just had a tougher road.
Who did Northwestern
agree.
lose to though? But like 28, almost
Penn-
30.
Penn State.
That's not who I was thinking of.
I think you just have to look at the under on this one, possibly.
Yeah.
The notes I have on Boise
Agreed.
State are
Can't
solid
make
defense, no talent. So
Call it Scott. Damn.
Hey,
That was
got time to
promising.
mess around. Yeah. All right. Speaking of Penn State, they play Texas A&M and Buzz Williams.
Man, that's I feel like Texas A&M is maybe the most polarizing individual team for me, to where I could see them losing in round 1 and I could see them going Final Four. Like,
They got some
What?
dudes down low, Marvel
That's
down
it.
low.
It's
They
just
got some
weird.
dudes that can play, and down low they're a problem. But it's what we talked about, and Alex mentions a lot. March is all about guard play, and their guards are not necessarily the strength of their team.
right.
And you
Well-
look at a team like Penn State, and I don't
Guard, senior guard.
right.
I liked
fifth
watching
year
Penn
guys.
State against Purdue. It was Purdue, right? Yeah, they just played Purdue.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought you were
that
gonna say
championship
Indiana.
game was great.
Close game, man. I mean, honestly, like they got some tenacious players, and that's a team that, like, I think that's what you need to see. That's when tenacity comes out at its finest, is in the tournament. and you see attitude, and you see people that are like, bro, I don't give a fuck if you're 7'5". I'm coming at you, man. Like, and I might foul out. You know, you could see just some real heart, I think, in that game, to where it was like they're ready for the tournament in that game already. And I don't know, I hadn't really watched them at all this year, but I guess you could see that, but I could also see them getting mopped.
The one thing I'll give about Penn State, they beat Indiana to play Purdue in the Big Ten championship. They play together with a ton of heart. You can tell it's a group that's been together for a long time. They don't close out games. We were down 7 with a minute to go and brought it down within 1 and had a chance to win it. Like, good teams don't blow a 7-point lead with a minute to go. So with the Texas A&M team that could take it down the wire and has won close games, that'll be the one to watch. I think it's a 1 to 2 point game. I'm gonna side Texas A&M and go look forward to watching them play Texas.
I disagree. I'm definitely going Penn State here, and for the reason that the SEC is the worst conference in shooting the three. You literally don't have to guard 3-pointers, like the worst of all the leagues, even the tiny ones, because that's all they do in the other leagues. But still,
This is a fact, Alex.
This is a fact. They are the worst shooting 3-point conference. And if you want to win in March Madness, granted, it's basically Alabama great. Everyone else sucks. So because they don't have to defend in the SEC, the 3-point area, that's what they're going to have to do against Penn State. It's going to get them out of their zone play. And I really think Penn State +3 is a really good bet in this one.
All right. I like it.
Scott, you go Texas A&M?
I'm going Texas A&M.
Texas A&M.
I like Buzz Williams. We may not defend the three very well as a conference, but I'd say Alabama's a pretty good 3-point shooting team, and A&M went and took it to them during the regular season. They ran out of gas during the SEC tournament, but I'm not worried about guarding the 3 in that game. That's another one of those games where I'm taking the coach.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think Texas A&M is dangerous. You know, I think I do have them going, you know, to beat Penn State. And then I feel like
Texas, they're dangerous because she wrote it down on her paper. So you don't know.
There it is.
I
like it.
That makes it official.
False. I've been watching. That's what I picked in my brackets, but I've been watching them play.
I've been watching them.
And if you look at the record and the games that they've played and who they've played against, I mean, I feel like it'll be a really good matchup with Texas.
Yeah,
they're hot too, right? Haven't they won like 15 or 16 out of their last like 18, 19
They've been
games?
playing well. They've been playing well as of late, for sure. And I don't think anybody's got any questions about UCLA handling UNC Asheville. The interesting thing about UCLA is they got a pretty good road to the Elite Eight, but then they're going to have to play Kansas or somebody like that on the top end of that bracket.
I'm not even sure.
Key injury.
Two key injuries.
Well,
Right.
they have Gonzaga. If they
potentially could play.
In my bracket, don't they have Gonzaga in my bracket?
Yep.
Yeah. So
they've got their best. They're the best defensive team in the country. UCLA is, and they're missing their best 2 defenders.
Yeah.
One who's not going to play, and the other one who's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and who has a shoulder injury, and maybe they leave him out for this UNC Asheville game, just to get him some rest before that next game against Northwestern or Boise State. So even though it's a 17.5-point spread, I might actually take UNC Asheville there if the big man is not going to play, because he's a huge difference maker.
Definitely.
The only thing I would also say, Caleb, best player for UNC Asheville, Drew Pember, transfer from Tennessee.
There it is.
Yeah, he was the best player in the conference, one player of the year, but he transferred for a reason. He went to UNC Asheville for a reason. Mr. Pember couldn't get on the court in Tennessee, so he tucked his tail and ran east and landed in Nashville and won himself an award. Good for him. Hopefully they play well and cover about 15, 16, and 17 points tomorrow. That'd be good for you. Appreciate that, Drew. Yes. Moving on to Friday, we start the day off with Alex's game. It'll be about 8:15 or 9:15 local time. I don't know if he'll even be awake yet.
Bet the under, drunk.
But number 10 USC plays Michigan State, the only 7 seed out of the 4 matchups that's favored.
Imagine that.
Rightfully
Is it
so.
really? Wow.
It should be.
Go
Alex,
back.
as I said on that pre-conference show, USC intrigues me. However, they didn't make any sort of splash really in the conference tourney. So, meanwhile, I think Izzo and Michigan State, passion, the storyline, they're hot. Also, Izzo, you want to talk about coaches, 25 straight tournament appearances. I'm taking the experience there.
Andy Enfield has the best record against the spread in the tournament this year. I mean, that goes all the way back to his time at Florida Gulf Coast. He is a beast. He's hard to bet against the spread, especially when he is the underdog. This entire game will be contingent upon if Drew Peterson is healthy. I was watching some Instagram videos that the team put out. I saw no Drew Peterson shooting anything, and I don't know if he in his last game he was 0 for 7. He's their second leading scorer. Every shot that he took was hitting the front of the rim. Like, he's having some massive back issues. Granted, he's had like a week off, so potentially I'm going to look at that game. I'm going to see how he's playing within his first couple shots, and I will be betting that game live. But if Drew is not having a good game, dude, bet the house on the under, which is at 137.5. Both these teams match up really well against each other. Boogie Ellis is one of the best guards in the country, but gets no respect and is going to have likely a good game. Tom Izzo is easily going to outcoach Andy Enfield. But I don't know. USC has the pieces. So does Michigan State. It's a coin flip game. But if anything, it'll probably be the under. And because it's 4 noon, I will be betting under 70 for the first half.
Alper, I want you to drink since it's a Trojan versus Spartans every time they mention the Trojan horse, so you can be shit-faced by 10:30 your time.
Yeah, I've already tried to figure out what it is that I'm going to drink in the morning.
Yeah, the Spartans and the Trojan horse is going to be a frequent occurrence. I'm going to save the next one because I think that we're going to talk about it a little bit later. VCU and St. Mary's. I've watched St. Mary's play a handful of times. I watched them get beat by Loyola Marymount. I saw them beat Gonzaga. Then I saw them get handled in the tournament by Gonzaga. St. Mary's is one of those teams with Logan Johnson and some of these guys that can score and can get going, but they just on the eye test, they just don't look that impressive to me anytime I've watched them play. But I also don't know anything about VCU other than the teams from the past. Like, they've got a good program now. I know that they have a style that they play, but I don't really know much about them. JJ, do you know anything about VCU?
I don't know anything on VCU. I'm not betting against St. Mary's. I'll go short history bias. They played Indiana last year, and I took the eye test and was like, oh, this is fine. And they ran our boys out of the gym so they can fucking score. And I'm not going to bet against them twice.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, I preach on. All right, fair enough. What about you, Alex? Do you know anything? How do you feel about St. Mary's?
I mean, St. Mary's, great coach, great overall organization, and they play the Zags numerous times a year. They beat them once. They're a good team. I think they squeak through, but I would probably still take VCU and the 4 points. Yeah,
agreed. I've definitely taken the points.
VCU is a much better.
Are so tricky because the statistics say that you definitely that it's going to happen at least once.
If you flip the numbers, like, would you know the difference? You know, just flip 5 and 12, and you'd probably be like, nah, I guess I'll pick VCU. I feel like that's just one of those ones where it's irrelevant what their ranking is. It's just so arbitrary with the numbers almost.
Yeah. A lot of the numbers are irrelevant. You have to look at the teams these days, but just based on the fact that you know that there's a statistic that says that there's going to be at least one of them happen, and you know there's going to be at least one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16. Like, you know this is going to happen. You just have to figure out which is the right, button to push.
Sounds like it's Oral Roberts.
Both teams have great defense.
But even though Pitt didn't look all that great last night, they were gritty enough and hung with them enough and stuck with it. And I mean, that dude had a wide open look at the end of the game. I can't believe it didn't go down, but they were hung on and they won that game. does that momentum carry them through an Iowa State team that's, I feel like, kind of similar to Missouri, kind of got the Big 12 boost? Like they got bounced around in that league, but because they were in the Big 12, they got a little bit of a little boost in their seed, because Iowa State is a good team. The Big 12 is a good league, but they could get bounced. They could get bounced on the first by a Pitt team that's got a little momentum, right?
I think it'd very easily get bounced. Then Pitt, for me, you've got that first tournament game jitters out. You've won one down at the wire. Like, should feel confident that being in the tourney shouldn't phase you game 2, where Iowa State, I mean, yeah, a lot of excitement and hope coming out of the state of Iowa with the 6th seed. I think they come out and lay an egg out of the gate.
Yeah.
I have Iowa State as like my go deep out of fucking nowhere team, and that's one of the reasons I hate my bracket, because I was looking at it, I was like, they just had, I think they played like 14 games or something like that this year against top 25 teams, and I think that's just valuable experience, and I think they were good. I think they were like 9-5.
Yeah, that's the Big 12. They played against, every time they played in their league, they were playing somebody ranked.
Quad 1.
I just feel like they've got that game. I think that eventually they might play Texas A&M. I had them beating, I think they play Houston, and I was like, fuck it.
Jesus.
Dead serious. I mean, I think Houston played like 2 games against top 25. I just think the experience is like, you're going to get
beat by Houston, or they got beat by Memphis.
Right. It's just, I don't know. I don't have any particular reason. It was just kind of looking at it as like, you know what, if they get this game and then this game wins and then they end up against Texas A&M, which I think is a wild card, and then they get Houston, I'm like, you know what, screw it. So
right.
My bracket could be absolutely in shambles in game 1, because you're right. They could absolutely lose to Pitt.
Well, every single one of these games could do that, and it would just be just one.
That would just be par for the course for March Madness.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason
Iowa State is the 9th ranked defense in defensive efficiency. Like, they are a top 10 defensive awesome team, but in their offense, not good at all. So,
no.
And then some good wins though. I mean, they like beat Baylor all 3 times. They beat TCU.
Pitt was supposed to finish last or next to last.
Yeah, 14th in the ACC.
Yeah,
that's what they said,
and they did very well. So
here they are.
We just set a record for the longest anybody's talked about Iowa State.
They had a great year. What? What'd you say?
I said we just set a record for the longest anybody talked about Iowa State going the distance.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, it's Iowa. I said go the distance, and it actually applies. It's Iowa. It's not heaven. It's Iowa.
A lot's been said about coach at UConn and Coach Pitino at Iona, and Iona, Pitino and Iona. Pitino's came in, and I heard it from a really good source from the guy from the Bronx, who said that Pitino is recruiting from the inner city in New York City, and he's going and getting these players and recruiting from downtown, getting some players that have been plucking them out of some of these other people's recruiting pools to go out to Iona.
Cheated at every school he's ever been at. So way to go.
Well, hey, whatever. Now he's got NIL. Now he's got NIL behind him, and he's letting her rip. So, I don't know what's to be made of the 2 coaches and all of that, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and this spread is under 10. And I'm definitely taking the points in this game. I'm taking plus 9.5. But what's the chances that old Rick can get one here on UConn? Because UConn's a favorite to win this whole thing in a lot of people's brackets. Is this not one of those 13-4s, or is this one of those 13-4s that's going to get somebody? Because I think it could get somebody. No, across the board, a bunch of no's.
UConn's had a bunch.
I think this line stinks.
Why, Scott? Give me that before I dive in.
First of all, UConn started off the year playing the best of any team, and they had a little dip in form. Now they're kind of getting back to what they were. The only question mark, I think, is really their point guard. If he plays well, they're going to play well. Also, Rick Pitino, he's rumored to be the next coach at St. John's. So he may be recruiting those inner city guys, but not for Iowa. He might be going to St. John's. So he may not be completely focused on trying to beat UConn.
I don't think they have a chance in the world.
Door? Is that what you're getting at? No, UConn is a good basketball team. They've had a heck of a year, and they have one of the better roads to the Final Four. If you want my opinion. My
notes on Iona indicate they're streaking, but their opposition has been really weak.
God,
They haven't really played anybody.
I think going back to coach, I think Pitino's going to seize the opportunity to boost himself. I think they'll bring it
Maybe.
close. I think UConn prevails, but UConn isn't, for the people to pick them to go far, they're not built out of steel. I mean, they've dropped to Providence. I remember them losing to Xavier. I remember them losing to, I don't think Xavier, I think they're a little overrated. Marquette's definitely beat up on UConn before this, during the season. Yeah, they're not bulletproof at all.
Understand that. What about this Providence Kentucky game? Another 11-6.
I got Providence.
Kentucky's been playing better, but you like the underdog there to win the game outright, or you just like the spread? The spread's 4.5. That seems close.
Down to 4.
I went
down
outright.
to 4.
I just think we've all seen Kentucky. I almost feel like they're crumbling under the pressure as they're calling for Calipari's head earlier in this year. I think Kentucky's going to be Kentucky.
Well, they did turn it around, and they did have a really good stretch there. They went and had a really good tournament.
Scott, what do you got on this one? Make me feel like I made a bad pick, or I'll sleep better tonight.
From everybody that I've listened to leading up to today, I've heard that Providence has almost given up on the season. They're just fading late. They can't really play defense. They kind of given up on the coach. But I've also heard Coach Calipari's even said anybody can beat them on any given day. So I don't really know which way to go on this. I lean towards Kentucky just because
Switzerland.
Yeah. Nah.
I think both teams.
Kentucky's been playing better as of late. That's the only reason. I don't like the matchup either.
I'm staying away from this spread, but I will hit that under, which is at 144.5. There's no way they're going to score that many points. And both of these teams have the tendency to just go like 7-8 minutes without scoring a point. So like, I'm hoping that happens the entire game.
Yeah.
And it's way under 144.5.
I love it.
But you can use that
Under
same coin we're
144.
using for the other one. Yeah.
And just to remind everybody, when we're talking about the over-under, that's total points scored by both teams. So if they have a 75-74 game, then that's 149 points total. So you're betting on the over the total points combined. So just to quickly let you guys know that. I want to talk about 2 more games that are happening on Friday. Then I want to get to some predictions and some announcements of who we've got in our Final Fours, and then bang out of here. So first game I want to talk about, another one of those 12-5s, Drake in Miami. It's another one of those games that everybody wants to popular. Everybody wants to talk about. Drake can pull this upset. I don't know. I'm not going to be the guy that gets on the microphone and talks like, yeah, that can happen. Yeah, it could freaking happen. Absolutely, it could. But I don't know anything about it. So I'm going to toss it to my professor, man. Alex Offer, tell me something about Drake that I don't know.
Drake is good. You know who Drake reminds me of? Loyola Chicago in 2018 when they beat Miami.
Yeah.
When they beat Miami and went really, really far. I think this happens with Drake as well. I don't think Miami's very good. They're missing a key player. I would hammer that Drake +2. I would hammer that money line. I like Drake all day.
Let's go. Started from the bottom. Now we hear it. Let's hear it for Drake. So the other game that I want to hear about is my boy JJ's IU Hoosiers playing the Kent State. 13-4. Spread's 4.5. JJ. You gotta. I like your freshman guard. He's grown up a lot. I love Trace Davis down Jackson Davis down the basket. I think that they can get hot from outside. I love Mike Woodson. He can coach his butt off. But you have been squeamish about this game since it came out, and I want to know why.
So I'll try to keep this to less than 5 minutes because I could go on and on and on. But
please do.
Tons of people are taking Indiana to go really far. Stephen A. Andy Katz both have them either in the Final Four. That scares the shit out of me. Indiana historically has underperformed when favored since I think the last time we've overperformed was 2002. So that puts that in perspective. Kent State wise, it's not a good matchup for Indiana. They struggled this year with any team that can score behind the arc. So we're talking about Iowa's beat up on us. We lost to Northwestern, teams that if they do hit Penn State, just hit us by 3. That's what we struggled with. So it's going to be good competition. They only lost to Houston by 5, so they played close there. They lost to Gonzaga by 7, pretty close game there too. The other thing that kind of riffles me is Calvin Sampson used to be the coach for Indiana. He had some recruiting allegations. They end up parting ways. He went to Houston. He's been successful. His assistant got let go as well. He is actually the head coach for Kent State. So I think there's a little bad blood there. So come
Definitely.
back to Indiana and just shove it right up our ass by banging home threes. They've got some older guys. They can score. The difference here, Trace Jackson Davis is gonna score. Same how we played Purdue. The big man's gonna score. Just a matter of if you can limit those outside 3-pointers. If I'm the betting man, I take Kent State for sure. Me as an Indiana fan, please God, let them pull through, because then I don't see the problem against Miami. I feel pretty good. I think we can match up okay against Houston. I feel okay the rest of the way in terms of we can go mano. This one scares the shit out of me.
That's the crazy thing, is that the first game
Yeah.
is the one that scares you.
Well, it's always a scary one. It's the first game. It's, it's just interesting. It's, those, you never know how those higher seeded teams are going to come out of the gate, because, they are playing for that's their Final Four. Their first game, they don't expect to maybe win. They're coming out with everything they've got, leaving it all on the table. It's that, first game that you come out and get punched in the mouth and you're not ready for it.
For some reason, I was watching that MAC championship game and I was like, damn, Kent State's fucking good. They'll give somebody a run. And then when I was watching on Sunday, I was like, oh no, you're
crap.
crazy. They're going to give us a run. Here we go.
They've got elite defense, and they lost to Houston by 5.
Yep.
Like it's going to be a game.
I like Indiana.
I like
Kentucky
Indiana to
by
advance,
22.
but I think you're right. I think my money goes on that Kent State, and I think it ends like in a couple point Indiana victory at the end.
Great.
Well, there you go. Well, that's that'll be interesting. Hopefully that doesn't happen for your sake, JJ. But let's needless to say, it sounds like we've got more take the points than take the favorite in some of these games
100%.
that are not obvious favorites. So switching gears a little bit, let's go around the horn, and I want some bold predictions. I want something that can be different than what you put on your bracket, maybe different than what your Final Four is, but what's a prediction that you've got that you think is going to happen that's going to be something that's a little bit bold? Scott, I want to start with you.
I don't know about anything bold. I think Marquette is going to come out blazing and cover and just slaughter Vermont.
Okay, so you think a 2 is going to slaughter a 15? That's your bold prediction. Okay,
Boy,
moving
Scott,
on. Moving on to JJ. JJ, you got any more? You got anything that's a little more bold than that?
Scott, I'll go off your Marquette, but take the other way. I think Marquette's going to slaughter Vermont, but I think they get bounced early. I think Michigan State goes to the Elite 8, and Marquette doesn't make it out of the second round.
There we go. There we go. Now we're talking.
USC or Michigan State's going to take it to Marquette. I think it's going to be Michigan State, and then they've either got Kentucky, which has been inconsistent, or Kansas State. That I think that they're good, but I think it's a conference boost. I think Michigan State slides into the Elite 8 with Izzo and a good story.
All right. Tweeter, what you got?
Well, I think I already kind of said it with Iowa State in the Final Four.
Oh yeah.
I just really feel like I feel like there is the storyline for the big upset in that particular region. That's all I'm looking at, is like the matchups and the way that it ends up lining up. And if for some reason the experience of having literally 7 times the amount of games played against the top 25 team as Houston, I could see that experience. Just, I don't know. But Houston is obviously a darling team. So, I mean, I'm going to be wrong most likely, but
That's the spirit.
I don't know what I really like JJ's honestly talk about Michigan State. I'm always, every year I come into the bracket, I find out, I go look for Michigan State, and I just bank on Izzo, man. I love Izzo. I love the experience. I love the chances of it, but yeah, give me a stupid pick with Iowa State going Final Four.
It's not that stupid though. I mean, if they get past
it's
Pitt,
not stupid.
Xavier's not bulletproof. Texas A&M,
Yeah.
they beat up on each other. It'll fuck my bracket. Don't get me wrong. That'll be.
Well, that's one thing we talked about. Like Iowa State could lose first round for sure. They definitely could lose first round. Like nobody would be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they lost." They'd be like, "Yeah,
can't believe
totally
they got
see
beat
that."
by 10.
No one's thinking about Iowa State, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Just the odds of the bracket, I guess.
All right, Kristen.
So I decided that I was going to take NC State, and I have them in the Sweet 16.
So taking the Wolfpack.
I'm taking the Wolfpack.
There we go.
Shocker. Let's
Maybe
go.
that is really biased. Also very bold at the same time
Yeah.
because of who they have to get through first. We haven't even talked about Creighton, and then they have Baylor. So we haven't talked about Baylor either. So
Baylor lost to Iowa State 3 times this year. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Just throwing it
there
out
you
there.
go. So they have a few big teams to get past, but I'm putting some faith in the Wolfpack.
There you go. All right. My bold prediction is that there will be no teams from the Big 12 in the Final Four.
Oh, that is a.
To take it a step further, I think that there are 2 Big East teams in the Final Four.
Fair enough.
So
We'll go from that into Alex. What you got a bold prediction? I know you got a bunch of stats. What's your boldest prediction?
He's the
I mean, there's a lot of bets that I like, and I don't know if any of these things are bold. I mean, the Houston Northern Kentucky game is going to be a layup line. I'd bet my entire house that they're going to cover the spread on that one. I love Drake. Drake's in the Valley Conference. In the last 10 years, they've been the second most profitable conference, going 20-12-1 against the spread. Caleb, do you know who is the most profitable conference in the last 10 years in March Madness? Which conference?
Who? Which
come on, who do you think?
SEC?
Hell no.
We're
talking about some Pac-12 love. They are 55-39-2, the most profitable conference against the spread in the last 10 years. I'm not saying any of that's going to help them this year, but it's never a bad idea.
Just go with the data.
I think one of my most fun matchups is Kennesaw State against Xavier. Yep. Kennesaw State a couple years ago won like one conference game. This year, I think they won almost all of them. Owls of Kennesaw State. This is such a fun matchup because they are so small and Xavier is so big. And that spread is 12.5. I like Kennesaw State in that one for being somewhat bold. Exactly. Who? Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah.
Alex.
Oh, I like it. Alex, but I'm betting Penn State all day. Yep. Kennesaw State. Love it.
I did too.
All right, guys.
Nice.
Let's go around. I want to hear what everybody's Final Four is, and then we'll remind everybody where they can go and sign up if it's not too late, and follow along and see who's going to win this bracket challenge. But JJ, who you got in your Final Four?
Got Arizona. Got Purdue. I saw Arizona eyes on in Vegas this year. Very good team. Is as long as they can stay out of foul trouble, they'll succeed. Purdue, I don't think anybody that hasn't schemed against them is going to play super well against them. They'll go on. I've got Kansas. I don't love that. I've actually got them win it all and talk about hating your bracket because they're very beatable. They just every time when I matched them up, I was like, they'll beat the team, and they get to the end. I'm like, I fucking hate this. So Arizona, Purdue, Kansas, and then I'm going to go with Indiana. I think if we can get beyond Kent State, I like our odds.
Okay.
Homer.
Absolutely. Joe, what do you got?
I have Alabama winning it all, which also I feel like is almost just like an easy pick, but at the same time, not very comfortable with any pick. But I have Alabama and Purdue. I think Purdue, watching them the other day, man, like Edey's just a problem, man. I mean, we keep like diminishing it and being like, hey, like their guard play might not be that good. And it's like, they have a skyscraper in the middle that also has great footwork, and he has finesse, and he shoots great free throws. So you're not going to foul him. And they also have like kind of overly, inappropriately cocky guard play. I feel like sometimes where you're like, you know what, dude, you're not that fucking good. But
it's like the little guy that walked in with the big guy at the bar, and they're just walking around. Like, hey,
right. You're right.
You
like,
can't beat me up because I got big. You got to lurch with me.
But I do think that they have a good shot of making it. I do have Kansas in there just based on, honestly, I think that the history of the organization and then the the coaching and honestly the road to it is going to work. But I got Iowa State in there, so I got 3 number 1s and a 6 seed.
Well, there you go. You never know what'll happen.
Never know.
It could get weird. K-Love, who you got here?
I have Alabama, Purdue, Texas, and Kansas. And I have in this bracket, I have Texas winning it all. The other one I had Alabama, and I was really stumped for that one.
Nobody's really mentioned Texas, but they've been playing some good basketball. Beat Kansas twice in the last couple of weeks. They've been been getting going. With
I had them losing to Texas A&M.
Yeah,
That's
which
a
could
tough
happen.
one.
Which
That-
could absolutely
same.
happen, and
Mhm.
that's the irritating part. Scott, who do you have?
I got Creighton, Marquette, Texas, and UConn.
He just said, "Fuck all."
Yeah,
Nice.
well, that's
awesome.
actually,
Love
you
it.
look at it and you wait it all shakes out. That's probably very as likely as
Very
anything
realistic.
Scotty, say that
Creighton
one more
kind of
time.
scares me. Creighton, Marquette, Texas, and UConn.
I love the UConn.
Creighton scares me the most.
See, that's 2 Big East teams in there, by the way.
It's a good call. like it.
I got Alabama, Marquette, and Xavier Gonzaga. And I don't love it. I just don't. I don't love it. I went back and I've done it a couple of different ways, and every way I'm like, this, could that, and I just outthink myself, and I just decided to pick, be done. So, yeah.
Same with you and Scott, though. I don't hate it either because I'm like, I don't really love it, but I can see it. And that's kind of that pickle I guess we're all hitting on here.
Yeah, that's where we're all at. So at the end of the day, that's why we watch. That's why they call it madness. The buzzer beaters, the Cinderellas, all the stuff is upon us. It starts.
Alex, too.
It starts. Alex, where's your Final Four? Did I not ask you? I thought you started
No,
with
no.
your Final Four.
No, I did not. I have Alabama. I have Creighton actually beating Arizona in that bracket, Scott. So way to go. I think Purdue has one really good player, but I do not think they match up very well against either FAU or Memphis. So I have them losing their 2nd round game and going out. I have Marquette coming out of the East. In the West, I've got Houston and Texas playing each other. I have Houston winning that game. That was the Midwest. In the West, I've got UConn over the Zags. I got UConn playing the Zags. I have the Zags winning. So my Final Four is Bama, Marquette, Houston, and the Zags. And then very excitingly, I have Bama playing Houston and Houston winning it all.
In Houston.
Houston.
Wow.
Oh, it's in Houston. I didn't even know that. No shit.
Full circle. That's full circle. That's great. That's
It's
great.
happens. It's happening in
beautiful thing.
it's happening in professional football. It's happening in
It's
college
happening.
football where the championship ends up being in your home city for some reason. So why not make it basketball as well?
And let's just keep an eye out because we're talking about betting and we're getting into talking about Houston. Let's see what our boy Mattress Mac is up to for March Madness, because this is definitely something to keep our eyes on considering it's in Houston. So he'll definitely be betting on the game. So we're going to keep it. We're going to keep plugged in and see if we
He's
can
on a
find
big
out what
losing
Mattress
streak,
Mac.
though, right? Isn't he
Yeah,
just
but
always
that means a
wrong?
big winning streak if you like furniture. That's right. You're getting you're getting
Sponsor
free
us.
furniture. Sponsor us, Mattress Mac. And I don't even remember what the name of his store, Furniture World or something.
Yep.
But at any rate, guys, this will be fun. I can't wait for tomorrow. We're all going to be trying to tuck away and find ways to watch the games as they're playing and see how our brackets are doing. We'll keep everybody updated on the social media, Instagram at Nashville Stash, and keep us in mind when you're looking for something to listen to, looking for something to watch. Our YouTube channel at Nashville Stash. We got all of our stuff broken out there. A lot of cool stuff. Stay tuned for more. We got a lot of cool episodes coming up. We're going to do some on-site location interviews and shows coming up. We got some cool guests and yeah, so stay tuned again at Nashville Stash. We appreciate you guys joining us. We know that you can be a lot of places. Glad you're with us. So until next time, you guys be well. StacheCast out.
Come on, take me on your UFO. Yeah, on your UFO. I've been on some other shit, just lost my fucking brother shit. Now I think it's time to beat myself back to the mothership. J-Rock is my co-pilot, that's the one that I hover with. Love the way we stubborn like we rule our own government. We come through so thunder.